In this video we will learn about the React component lifecycle. In React, lifecycle methods are special methods in class components that get called at specific points in a component's lifecycle, allowing developers to control what happens when a component mounts, updates, or unmounts. This enables managing tasks like fetching data, handling cleanup, or updating the UI efficiently. The lifecycle of a React component can be divided into three main phases. Mounting, when a component is created and inserted into the DOM. Updating, when a component re-renders in response to changes in its props or state. Unmounting, when a component is removed from the DOM. Each phase has specific lifecycle methods that can be utilized for various tasks. Let's study mounting phase in detail. The mounting phase represents the initial creation and rendering of the component. In mounting phase, four lifecycle methods are executed in this order. First, constructor is called. Then static getDerivedState from props method is called. After that, the render function is executed. Finally, componentDidMount is called. Let's see mounting phase 4 lifecycle methods using coding example. This code defines a React class component named myComponent, which demonstrates the basic lifecycle methods of a React component. In the constructor, the component initializes its state with a count property set to 0 and logs constructor to the console. The static getDerivedState from props lifecycle method is then defined, which updates the state based on the components props if necessary, though here it simply logs getDerivedState from props and returns null, indicating no state changes are made based on props. The render method is responsible for displaying the component's UI, logging render each time it's called, and returning a div with a header displaying the current count value. There's also a button that, when clicked, increments count by updating the component's state, which triggers a re-render. Finally, the componentDidMount method runs after the component is first rendered and attached to the DOM. Here, it logs componentDidMount and could be used for tasks like data fetching. This structure exemplifies React's component lifecycle stages: mounting, rendering, and updating. Let's study updating phase in detail. The updating phase occurs whenever a component's state or props change. It's a recurring phase as components react to changes, updating and re-rendering as needed. Key lifecycle methods here include: first, static getDerivedState from props is called. Then shouldComponentUpdate is called. After that, render is executed. Then getSnapShotBeforeUpdate is executed. Finally, componentDidUpdate is executed. Let's see updating phase 5 lifecycle methods using coding example. This code defines a React class component called myComponent that includes several lifecycle methods typically involved during the updating phase of a component's lifecycle. The constructor initializes the component's state with a count value set to 0. The static getDerivedState from props method is triggered when new props are received or the state updates. It logs getDerivedState from props updating but returns null, indicating no change in state. The shouldComponentUpdate method, which controls whether the component should re-render, logs shouldComponentUpdate and returns true, allowing all updates to proceed. Before each update to the DOM, getSnapShotBeforeUpdate runs, logging getSnapShotBeforeUpdate and returning null. This method can capture DOM-related values before the update, though it isn't used here. Following the update, componentDidUpdate runs, logging componentDidUpdate, where actions based on previous props or state could be performed. The render method, which is called when re-rendering, logs render updating and displays the count value, along with a button that increments the count when clicked, causing the component to re-render. This structure highlights how React's updating lifecycle methods can control and observe a component's behavior during updates. Let's study unmounting phase in detail. The unmounting phase marks the end of a component's lifecycle, where it is removed from the DOM. Only one method is executed here. Let's see unmounting phase method using coding example. This code defines a React class component called myComponent that uses lifecycle methods for the unmounting phases of the component's lifecycle. In the constructor, the component's initial state is set with a count value of 0. The componentDidMount lifecycle method is called immediately after the component is first rendered to the DOM, logging componentDidMount to the console. This is commonly used for initial setup tasks like data fetching or subscribing to services. The componentWillUnmount method is called right before the component is removed from the DOM, logging componentWillUnmount. This method is ideal for cleanup tasks, such as clearing intervals, removing event listeners, or unsubscribing from services. The render method, which is required in every React class component, returns the UI for the component, displaying the current count value within a div. This code demonstrates the use of componentDidMount and componentWillUnmount for handling setup and cleanup, ensuring the component properly manages resources during its lifecycle. Understanding the React component lifecycle allows developers to manage component behavior with precision, optimize performance, and ensure clean, resource-efficient applications. Familiarity with each lifecycle method enables you to handle mounting, updating, and unmounting phases efficiently, even for complex applications. Thank you for watching. आपको वीडियो पसंद आए या नहीं? अपना फीडबैक जरूर देना and please subscribe.